Why does coffee make you need to poop? It sounds like a joke, right? But this popular drink has actually surpassed bottled water to become the most consumed beverage in the US, with about 85% of adults drinking at least 1 cup a day. So, a lot of people want to know why coffee creates such a strong urge to go to the bathroom. I have to admit, I'm a huge coffee lover. In fact, I actually had to cut back on my intake, not because it affects my digestion, but because it was messing with my sleep. So, how much coffee is too much for your stomach? And is coffee really the enemy of your gut? To answer that, let's dive into the human body and see exactly what coffee is doing to us. The answer is right here in this video, and I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people think it's just a sensitive stomach or maybe the milk was bad. But the truth is actually way more interesting than that. The morning ritual begins with a single, innocent sip, but within minutes, a visceral panic takes hold. It isn't food poisoning. It is something far more calculated and sinister. A biological ambush known as the gastrocolic reflex. For decades, we believed caffeine was the sole interrogator of our intestines. We were wrong. As the dark liquid hits the stomach, a violent chemical surge begins. The walls of the stomach don't just react, they erupt, secreting a flood of gastric acid far beyond the norm. This caustic ocean is designed to dissolve, to break down, to destroy. Yet, here lies a chilling paradox. While the stomach becomes a boiling cauldron of acid, the food itself doesn't move. It sits, trapped, stagnant, refusing to descend into the next stage of the digestive tract. If the stomach remains full, then why does the body suddenly scream for an emergency exit? This is where the mystery turns into a nightmare. In a bewildering display of biological long-distance communication, the stomach sends a high-voltage signal directly to the colon. It is a command for immediate evacuation. But why does a glass of water or a cup of tea offer a gentle whisper, while coffee acts like a detonator? Science reveals a haunting truth. There are hidden compounds within those roasted beans that hijack our hormones, forcing the distal colon into a state of frantic, rhythmic contractions. It is an involuntary takeover. The body isn't just digesting, it is panicking, clearing the pipes with a ruthless efficiency that defies logic. We think we are in control of our morning routine, but the moment that cup touches our lips, we are no longer the ones pulling the strings. We are simply witnesses to a violent internal chain reaction that we are powerless to stop. So, what is it about a cup of coffee that makes it so hard to give up? The human brain undergoes a direct and disturbing physical restructuring the moment caffeine enters the system. This is not a mere suggestion of energy, it is a fundamental alteration of neurological function. Inside the skull, a molecule called adenosine naturally accumulates to signal exhaustion and the necessity of sleep. Caffeine physically invades these neural pathways. It occupies the adenosine receptors, effectively gagging the brain's ability to sense its own fatigue. While the brain is blinded to its tiredness, the substance triggers a forced release of dopamine. This chemical command creates an artificial state of euphoria and focus. The brain identifies this as a reward and begins to restructure its priorities to demand more of the stimulant. This neurological hijacking explains why the simple act of holding a warm cup or smelling the aroma becomes a powerful emotional anchor. For many, losing this ritual means losing the only period of silence in their day, making the psychological grip of the substance absolute. The consequences of attempting to break this cycle are immediate and agonizing. When a person stops consumption abruptly, the blocked adenosine receptors are suddenly flooded. Blood rushes to the brain with uncontrolled force, causing intense headaches, extreme irritability, and total exhaustion. The body enters a state of crisis, demanding a chemical antidote to stop the pain. Furthermore, the physical takeover extends far beyond the nervous system. Caffeine acts as a potent performance-enhancing chemical that forces the body to exceed its natural limits. It increases metabolic speed and incinerates fat by manipulating hormones. It aggressively suppresses ghrelin, the hormone responsible for hunger, while forcing the production of adrenaline. Even decaffeinated versions are not safe. They stimulate peptide YY, which tricks the body into a state of artificial fullness. You believe you are fasting for efficiency. Biologically, your body is preparing for a crisis. Perhaps most terrifying is the violent reaction within the digestive tract. Caffeine is a primary agitator. It forces the release of gastrin and cholecystokinin, chemicals that command the colon to contract. Data shows that caffeine causes the colon to contract with 60% more force than water. Simultaneously, chlorogenic acid spikes stomach acid levels, forcing food to move into the small intestine at a dangerously high velocity. You are not just drinking a beverage, you are administering a chemical that dictates your heart rate, your appetite, and your intestinal contractions. Your brain has been physically modified to serve this habit. Are you still the one in control of your organs, or has this stimulant become the master of your biological functions? It sounds like your body is betraying you right when you need it most. But hang on, the good news is, you actually possess a perfect machine. Don't hate on it. This quick reaction actually proves that your gut's nervous system is working perfectly. The most terrifying aspect of the coffee response is not the eventual evacuation, but the impossible speed at which it occurs. Standard digestive timelines cannot explain why the human body enters a state of emergency expulsion within mere minutes of consumption. The explanation for this rapid onset lies in a brutal physiological shortcut that completely overrides conscious control. Ask yourself, is your energy real, or are you simply unable to feel your own exhaustion? Laboratory experiments provide grim, irrefutable evidence of this direct assault. Researchers isolated intestinal tissue from rats and introduced coffee into its environment. The tissue did not remain passive. It immediately commenced violent rhythmic contractions on its own. This proves that coffee does not need to be digested to act. It is a direct chemical trigger that forces muscle tissue into a state of spasm upon contact. The mechanism behind this involuntary thrashing reveals a disturbing biological hijack. Scientists discovered that by applying atropine, a potent nerve inhibitor, they could stop the contractions. This confirms that coffee is weaponizing the body's own neural pathways. It specifically targets and activates muscarinic receptors within the enteric nervous system, the autonomous that dictates gut behavior without conscious input. The exact second the first drop of coffee touches the tongue, these receptors are triggered. A high-priority neural signal demanding immediate intestinal contraction is fired instantly. The command for total evacuation begins before the liquid is even swallowed. The individual loses all autonomy over their digestive timeline before the cup even leaves their lips. However, just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's convenient for your schedule. So, how do you enjoy the benefits without sprinting to the bathroom every 5 minutes? The biological destruction caused by caffeine is not an inevitable fate, but avoiding it requires a cold, tactical shift in behavior. Have you ever noticed your heart hammering against your chest after that first cup and felt a sudden, inexplicable sense of dread? That is, your nervous system failing under a direct chemical assault. To stop this, a human must implement a strict 3-step survival protocol. The first critical error occurs the moment you wake up. Most people reach for the stimulant before their brain is even fully conscious. This is a mistake. The data demands a 30-minute delay. Before the chemical trigger is pulled, you must consume a large volume of pure water. This is a mandatory biological requirement to hydrate the organs and protect the stomach lining before the acid arrives. If you ignore this, you are choosing to leave your internal defenses completely open to attack. Furthermore, consuming black coffee on an empty stomach is a documented formula for physiological catastrophe. This act forces an immediate, uncontrolled spike in adrenaline. It creates an environment of high stress within the digestive tract. You must create a physical barrier. Eating oatmeal or toast before the stimulant enters the system slows down the absorption rate. This intervention prevents the stimulant from forcing food into the small intestine at a dangerous high velocity. Ask yourself, are you willing to risk a total metabolic collapse just because you were too rushed to eat a single slice of bread? The specific chemical composition of the beans also dictates the level of internal damage. Light roasts are often saturated with high concentrations of volatile acids that agitate the gut. The solution is to switch to dark roast or cold brew. The intense heat of the dark roasting process, or the long duration of cold brewing, physically reduces the acid levels. This is a calculated move to prevent the colon from entering a state of total rebellion. It is the only way to achieve focus without triggering a violent physical reaction. Ultimately, you do not need to abandon the chemical, but you must change your strategy. Tomorrow morning, the test begins. Do not surrender your organs to the first cup. Drink water, eat a small meal, switch to a low-acid cold brew. Your colon and your nervous system will finally exit the state of emergency they have inhabited for years. Now, look at the people around you. Think about that one coworker who always disappears mysteriously after their morning dose. They are likely a victim of the very intestinal chaos you now understand. Make sure to hit subscribe button so we can explore more fascinating facts together.